Welcome back. This is David. Today we are going to briefly talk about errors and testing in Python. You might think if you write a perfect program, there's no need to know anything about this. However, everyone makes mistakes. In fact, probably you would spend more time on dealing with errors and writing tests in your programming career than actually writing programs. This is only a start, but a really important one. So there are three big types of errors, and the first one is syntax error, which is also known as compile time error. Some of you might not understand what compile time means. So the languages we often write, such as Python, Java, are high-level languages. They must be compiled first into machine-readable language to be executed by the computer. So in the process of compiling Java or Python files, the compiler might find some syntax errors in the program. It might be some grammar issues, or it might be one of your typo. Anyways, there must be an invalid syntax in the program. For example, there can be a missing parentheses or calling an undefined function, etc. And this is one of the examples. In this case, the programmer forgot to write the close quotation mark. So there is a syntax error. The compiler couldn't find where's the end of line of the string literal. So you only have the start of the string, but you never have the end of string. The compiler doesn't know where the string ends. And the second type of the errors is called runtime error. It is different from the compile time error because the program would compile just fine and then into machine-readable language. But while the machine is running the program would crash due to many different reasons. Some of the common ones are like divide by zero error or like a memory error. Because in math, division by zero is an undefined behavior, so the computer doesn't know what to do with 1 divided by 0. You might also ask, why is it not a compile time error? Because oftentimes the 0 in the denominator is computed while running the program instead of putting as the denominator in the first place. So it might be 1 divided by x minus y. And sometimes x and y are the same, so it becomes 1 divided by 0. So in that case, you would have this error, error, division by 0. And the last type of the error is not, the computer wouldn't be able to detect it because it's a wrong logic in the program written by the programmers, leads to incorrect result. So you might expecting the answer to be like 500, but due to some logical error, you got 600 instead. This kind of error is often hard to fix and find. Because this kind of error cannot be detected by the computer, it can only be found when you run the program and got the incorrect result. Some of common cases are like typos. For example, you want to type 100, but instead you type 10. You miss a 0. The reason can also be like partial understanding of the algorithm. So you don't really understand the algorithm thoroughly, so you make a mistake, like a mathematical mistake in the process. So how do we find logical errors or other kind of errors? By writing tests. Bigger companies like Google or Facebook, they have separate divisions just to do quality control or do testing on the code written by other programmers before they launch the product. So we do testings to detect runtime and logical errors because the compiler would notify us about the compile time error, so we don't need to test it. In Python, we use the assert function or method. What the assert function does is to do nothing if the argument is true, and to raise a runtime error if the argument is false, so to terminate the program. We can take a look at the example on the right. So the function that we are testing is the ones digit. Hopefully everyone knows what this function does. It returns the last digit of an integer. So this function is the testing function, and we would later call the testing function in the end. So these two print lines just to let the user know that we have finished the testing, instead of like running into an infinite loop or something. Between those two, we have 5 asserts. All of them have to be true in order for the test function to pass. Let's take a look. If our function is correct, the ones digit 5 should be 5, ones digit 1, 2, 3 should be 3. This is also correct, correct, correct. So in this case, this test function would somewhat ensure that the function that we wrote earlier is correct. And after that, we would be able to write other functions to use this function or to put this function in other part of our projects or programs. So let's take a look at how the errors and testing functions plays out in Python. So previously, we mostly focus on the left part where we do the programming, but today we probably are going to focus more on the right side because that's where the error message is going to show up. So let's try some errors first. First, let's take a look at some compile time error. For example, we can do print hello, but somehow I forgot the closing quotation mark. Let's run it. And that's the error we saw in the slides. So as you can see, it also points out where the error should be. Let's try different errors. We can try print hello, but this time we forgot the parentheses and could not run code because it is incomplete. It is also an syntax error because syntax error or compile time error because the compiler wouldn't compile the program due to some grammar issue. Let's close that, and maybe we can call a undefined function like ABC, and this function doesn't have any argument. It tells me that it is a name error because name ABC is not defined. In this case, the program might think ABC as a variable, or it might think ABC as a function. It doesn't know what it is, but it only knows that ABC is not defined. So that's why it's a name error. Let's try some runtime error at this time. We can try 1 divided by 0, and it is 0 division error as we saw in the slides. And let's try memory error is hard to try because we haven't really learned anything about memory for now, but let me show you. For example, I have a list. We haven't learned what list is, but you can think of it as a collection of these 3 values. But now I want to access the 4th character in the list. And now it shows me the list index out of range. In this case, it is an index error. It says list index out of range. In some programming languages, it is a memory error, and in other programming languages, it might be able to be detected in compile time. So there are also other type of memory errors, such as you're accessing a illegal memory location while running the program. So in general, there are many types of errors that you might encounter while you are coding. So the best way to deal with that is to, if after reading the error message, you still don't know what it does, you just need to Google it. Every programmer does that, and you need to try a different method to fix that, and then maybe ask someone that's more experienced to figure out what exactly the error is, and you will learn from the errors because only the errors would tell you what cannot be done. in different programming languages. We can take a look at testing function first and maybe try some logical error after that. So let me just copy and paste the code from the slide. I realized that I have made a mistake while talking about a slide because -123 mod 10 is actually not 3. It is actually 7. So the once-digit function that we wrote here is not correct. It only works on positive numbers. It doesn't work on negative numbers. So let's run it and see what happens. There's an error. So assertion error, and it fails right here. It fails on this line because one's digit -1 to 3 actually equals to 7. So as you can see, we can write a test function to test the correctness of the function that we want to perform some function on. We want to perform some action on. And oftentimes you want to do edge cases. In this case, for example, we do one digit, we do several digits, and we do negative number. We can also do like 0, or we can do a really big number. The purpose of the testing function is to just test out different cases or different edge cases in order to ensure that the function that we wrote previously is completely correct, even though we might never be sure of that. So in this case, this is a logical error because we only understand the algorithm partially. We didn't really think of the case of having a negative number. So the correct way we do it may be to case on the input. If it is a positive number, we just do we might be able to do this. If it is a positive number or positive or greater than 0, we'll be able to do return and web 10, or else we can do 10 minus that. 10 minus this. And we can run it again and see if it passed this time. Now it passed. It tests the once-digit function, and then it passed because all the assertion in all these 5 assertions didn't raise an assertion error, meaning that all of those returns to true inside. So that's how we write test functions for simple programs, and in most cases. There are also other ways to do it for bigger companies, but we don't really need to know that right now. So today we talk about errors and testing. These are very important topics. You need to learn while practicing, while making mistakes. Thank you very much.